Imagine a world where artificial intelligence makes everything perfectly efficient and corporate profits skyrocket to the moon, yet your wallet is completely empty and the global economy collapses. This is not a dystopian sci fi movie. It is a highly plausible economic crisis scenario that could hit us in just 2 years. Today, we dive deeply into a report that has sent shockwaves through Wall Street and Silicon Valley: the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis by Citrini Research. Interestingly, this report is not written as a traditional forecast. Instead, authored by Alap Shah and the Citrini Research team, it takes the form of a retrospective thought experiment written from the vantage point of June 2028. It serves as a chilling warning that the rapid displacement of human labor by AI will not just be a technological milestone, but a catalyst for a catastrophic macroeconomic downward spiral. The scenario kicks off in early 2026 with the explosive rise of highly capable agentic AI. Knowledge work, coding, strategic planning, legal research, and everyday corporate tasks, traditionally dominated by well-paid white-collar professionals, is abruptly taken over by machines. Initially, the market reaction is pure euphoria. Companies drastically cut their labor costs, leading to unprecedented margin expansions. The astronomical profits are aggressively reinvested into massive AI computing infrastructure. As a result, the S&P 500 surges past the 8,000 mark, bathing the stock market in a historic golden age. However, beneath this dazzling economic boom, a fatal fracture begins to form. While corporations amass immense wealth, millions of newly unemployed middle-class professionals slam their wallets shut. Here lies the core paradox. AI agents do not sleep, they do not demand health insurance, and they perform tasks flawlessly. But crucially, AI agents do not buy coffee, they do not purchase real estate, they do not book vacations, and they do not pay taxes. Productivity skyrockets, pushing nominal national output to record highs, but the money completely stops circulating in the real economy. Economists in this scenario coin a terrifying new term for this phenomenon: ghost GDP. This ghost GDP triggers a devastating negative feedback loop known as the intelligence displacement spiral. As consumer demand heavily contracts, corporate revenues begin to plummet. Desperate to protect their shrinking margins, companies resort to laying off even more workers and leaning even harder into AI automation. The entire landscape of intermediation businesses, such as payment processors collecting transaction fees, food delivery platforms, and traditional SaaS software companies, faces an existential collapse. Business models that previously thrived on human friction and inefficiency are wiped out almost overnight. The climax arrives on June 30th, 2028. The economic reality catches up with the financial markets. The U.S. unemployment rate unexpectedly breaches the 10.2% mark. The once glorious S&P 500 suffers a brutal 38% drawdown from its late 2026 peak. The labor share of GDP plunges from 56% to 46% in the sharpest decline recorded in modern history. Unlike the 2008 financial crisis, which was fueled by toxic subprime mortgages and bad loans, the 2028 crisis is a paradoxical disaster caused precisely because a technology succeeded too well and too fast. Citrini Research's report is not merely peddling doom. It is a profound wake-up call, urging policymakers, investors, and workers to confront the harsh reality that human intelligence is undergoing a violent and rapid repricing. Traditional economic remedies, like central bank interest rate cuts or quantitative easing, are entirely powerless against this structural deflation of consumer demand. The real question is no longer whether AI can do our jobs, but how society will sustain a consumer-driven economy when the consumers themselves are priced out of the labor market. Now let us analyze the hidden implications of this thought experiment and break down the urgent questions it raises for our future.
All right, let's jump right in. We're going to explore a pretty provocative thought experiment, one that paints a picture of our not-so-distant future. It's all based on a research piece that imagines a full-blown global economic crisis in the year 2028, and it's all sparked by AI. Now, this piece, it's set off an absolute firestorm of debate, and today we're going to unpack the whole thing, both the scary, dystopian scenario and the really strong pushback against it.
So just imagine waking up and seeing this headline on your screen. This is the fictional crisis that we're about to dive into. It paints this picture of a world where somehow a massive AI-driven productivity boom actually leads to a staggering market collapse. And the big question is, how on earth does that happen?
So here's our game plan. First, we'll spend some time in this fictional 2028 crisis. Then, we'll break down the two main engines that supposedly drive this collapse, a nasty feedback loop of layoffs and an economy that's been stripped of all its inefficiencies. After that, though, we're going to get a much-needed reality check from an engineer deep inside big tech. And finally, we'll pull back and look at the huge debate this has all kicked off about our future with AI.
Right, so in this 2028 scenario, the top-line numbers look fantastic. I mean, GDP is through the roof, corporate profits have never been better, and it's all thanks to AI agents that work 24/7. But, just beneath that shiny surface, the actual consumer economy, where you and I live, is starting to completely fall apart. And this brings us to this really core idea they call ghost GDP. It's basically all this economic value that AI is creating, stuff that shows up in the official stats, but it never actually makes its way into the wallets of real people. Think about it. A giant GPU cluster in some data center might replace the economic output of 10,000 human workers. But that cluster doesn't go out and buy a new car, or book a family vacation, or go out to eat. Machines don't have spending money. So what's the engine driving this whole fictional collapse? Well, it's this powerful feedback loop, a concept they call the human intelligence displacement spiral. It's basically a self-reinforcing cycle where every turn just makes the next one spin even faster and become more and more destructive. Let's walk through how this works. It starts off simple enough. A company adopts AI to get more efficient and cut costs. That leads to mass layoffs, hitting white-collar jobs especially hard. Now all those laid-off workers, they suddenly don't have an income, so they stop spending money. That collapse in spending puts huge pressure on other companies, forcing them to, you guessed it, cut their own costs by adopting more AI. And boom, the cycle just repeats, getting faster and faster each time, with literally nothing to slow it down.
Now here's why the focus on white-collar workers is so critical. While they make up about half the workforce, they're responsible for a whopping 75% of all discretionary spending. The non-essential stuff. These are the people buying new houses, getting new cars, paying for services. When their income vanishes, it sends this massive shockwave through the entire consumer economy. It's a huge domino to fall.
And according to this theory, this doesn't happen overnight, but it happens alarmingly fast. It kicks off around 2025, when AI coding agents get good enough to replicate software products. By 2026, a huge company like ServiceNow sees its growth flatline, which triggers that first big wave of tech layouts. By 2027, the problem spreads like a virus beyond just software, hitting any business that's basically a middleman. And by 2028, the whole system is in crisis.
Okay, so that displacement spiral was one half of the story. The other huge driver of this fictional collapse is this idea of a frictionless economy. It's a world where AI agents become the perfect, most efficient shoppers imaginable. And in the process, they absolutely obliterate entire industries that were built on, well, human inefficiency.
Just think about it. So many businesses thrive because we humans are, busy, we're impatient, we stick to our habits. Travel websites, insurance brokers, real estate agents, a lot of their value comes from navigating complex systems that we just don't have the time or energy to deal with. But an AI agent? It has infinite time. It can scan every single flight, every insurance policy, every home for sale in a millisecond to find the absolute rock-bottom price, just destroying the business models of those human middlemen. Even a company like DoorDash, which relies on us just habitually opening their app, gets crushed when an AI can instantly check 20 other delivery services to see who has the lowest fee.
But the ultimate friction, the biggest target of all, is the cost of simply moving money. In this relentless hunt for optimization, AI agents would naturally go after those 2 to 3% interchange fees that credit card companies charge on every swipe. I mean, why would an AI pay that, when it could use crypto networks like Solana or others to settle a transaction instantly for like a fraction of a penny? This becomes a direct, existential threat to the giants, the Visas and MasterCards of the world.
Okay, that was a pretty dark picture we just painted. And right after that idea got out there, it just sparked this huge debate. So now we're going to pivot hard. We're going to inject a serious dose of skepticism from somebody who actually builds these systems for a living, a software engineer from a major tech company.
He basically raises the crucial question here. Is this whole scenario where AI agents just flawlessly rewrite our entire economy, is that even remotely plausible? Is AI really the magic wand that the hype makes it out to be?
And his answer is a pretty firm no. He lays out the hype versus the messy reality. See, real-world software isn't some clean, perfect thing. It's this tangled web of what they called technical debt. Years and years of quick fixes and weird exceptions that nobody wrote down. So yeah, AI is an amazing tool for developers, for sure, but it's not some all-knowing being that can magically understand a decade of messy, undocumented business logic. If you try to make it do that, you just end up with a buggy, broken mess.
And this quote just nails the whole point. Just because AI makes writing code faster doesn't magically solve all the other complex problems of running a business, things like customer support, marketing, navigating regulations. The world is just way too complicated for one single piece of tech to change everything all at once. This is such a perfect example of what's called the jagged edge of AI. The technology can be literally superhuman at one task, and then totally incompetent at another that seems really simple to us. Waymo is the classic case. After 17 years and billions of dollars, their self-driving cars still need remote human drivers to step in and handle weird, unpredictable situations. The real world is full of those jagged edges.
So this all brings us to the real heart of the issue, the wild thought experiment and the sober reality check. They basically lay out the two extreme poles of a debate that is absolutely raging right now. Is this technology leading us to a utopia or a dystopia?
On one side, you have the deeply pessimistic view. People like this commenter, Brant Hammer, see a future of mass unemployment where that old social contract, work hard and you'll get ahead, is just completely shattered. The fear is a world where all the wealth gets concentrated in the hands of the very few who own the AI, creating this new kind of techno-feudalism.
But then you have the total opposite take, the utopian vision, summed up really well here by Prophet Keeney. This is the idea that AI could be the single greatest tool for small businesses and entrepreneurs, ever. By slashing costs and breaking down barriers, it could unleash this massive wave of competition and innovation. And that leads not to mass layoffs, but to a job refactor, where whole new industries we can't even dream of today are born.
So, when you boil it all down, we're left with this one fundamental question. Is AI a tool for mass displacement, or is it a tool for mass empowerment? The scenarios we've walked through today are the two extreme answers. The path we actually end up taking is probably somewhere in the middle, but which direction we lean, well, that might just be the most important question of our time.